ユンケルス。もう
Junkers.
お前が喋れるようになっているのは分かってる。
Is that?
過去2年間に起きた4件の中年夫婦殺人事件。そのうち3件の現場近くでお前は目撃されてるんだがね。お前が錠前破りだということは分かっている。お前の仕事はただ鍵を開けることだけだ。
But his
あれだけ
associate.
見事に被害者の首を横一文字に切り裂くような真似はお前にはできない。私の考えでは最低3人必要だ。厳重な鍵を開け、中年夫婦2人を無抵抗の状態で殺害するためにはな。何のためにドイツ全州にまたがり4件もの、それも子供のない中年夫婦2人を殺害したのか。金品は盗まれていたが、あんな少額を3人で分けたのではこの犯罪は割に合わない。
There's something much larger at play here in terms of the motive.
ここで証言すればお前は罪を免れる。
I think he feels like he's as good as
お前た
dead.
ちにこの仕事を依頼したのは誰だ。
ユンケルスさん、もういいんだ。取り調べはここまでにしていただきます。
いや、もう一絞りだ。
出て行ってください。主治医の命令です。
That one was to test him.
ま、いいでしょう。日を改めましょう。ただし毒殺されたり失踪したりし
Look at these features.
見張りはしっかりとつけさせてもらいますよ。ドクター・テンマ、あなたの周りではなぜか偶然いろんなトラブルが起きるようですから。
何が言いたいんですか。
こういう日は本当に生きててよかったと思うよ。たまにはこういう時がないとやりきれなくなるんだ。私も以前はそうだった。出世して自分のやりたい研究をする。手術を成功させるのは地位を固める手段だってね。
But then?
でもある男の子の手術がきっかけで私は変わったんだ。
Certain boy.
医者の本部に立ち返ることができたんだ。
That was a pivot for him.
人の命
Or
の
so he
重さは
believes.
みんな一緒だ。医者はその命を助けるのが仕事だってね。
Kind of goes back to that dinner, right?
人間はやり直せる。今からでも遅くない。
I feel like they're being watched.
先生は俺の命救ってくれた。俺の親みたいな感じがする。
いきなりでかい子供ができたもんだな。
That's how someone else might have felt as well.
欲しかったんだ。からくり時計、毎日それが欲しくて、時計屋のショーウィンドウに顔をひっつけてた。
Did you end up stealing it?
一番最初にやった錠前破りがその店さ。その時はすぐに捕まって時計は手に入らなかった。でもそれから錠前破りが俺の仕事になった。最初はあの時計が欲しかっただけなんだ。
Yeah, then it became...
あれが欲しかっただけなのに。
Oh, it's kind of sad. Right? That one
全
choice,
部話すんだ。
the path he ended up on.
警察に全部話して一からやり直すんだ。
仲間全部殺されたんだ。
誰に。
The monster.
君の言っていたモンスターにか。
Oh god. Oh god. He's seen some terrible sights.
そうだろう。お前ほどの地位にいながら女房がいないようじゃ。おい。
See a clock?
ちょうど時刻になるとぴょこぴょこくるみ割り人形が飛び出してくるやつ。
これだ。
Get a gift. Oh boy. Oh boy. Flashback?
人間はやり直せる。今からでも遅くない。
He might try, but I feel like...
おまわりさん、見張りのおまわりさん、そこにいるんだろう。
Oh my
全部
god.
話すよ。その代わりドクターテンマも呼んでくれないか。
Get back in there.
おまわりさん。
Sorry, too late.
God
damn it. Ah. Trouble follows you.
おい、どうした。
Was that a note?
しっかり
Is that a rapper? It is.
ユンケルさんあの時と同じだ
Yeah.
キャンディーによる毒殺
Yeah.
私の患者の失踪9年前のあの時と一緒だ
And Lung is going to get that info as well, right? Oh. Is he being held?
しちゃダメだ先生病院へ戻ろうユンケルさん大丈夫だから
Don't think that's an option, my guy.
こいつを見ちゃダメだ先生こいつ仲間を殺したのはこいつだ
A monster.
も殺される
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Ah.
誰だ
Ah.
ダメだ先生
Is
しちゃ
that?
ダメだ
お久しぶりですね先生
It is. It's Johan.
ですよ9年前先生は僕の命を
Oh
助け
my
てくれたでしょ
god.
9年前
It's him.
もう忘れちゃったかなあの時の双子のことなんて
It's him. It was him.
そうだよあの双子だよ
He got
覚えてい
like
てくれた
tall.
んだ
Look at
ね
him.
逃げろ先生もやられるユンケルさんは私の患者だぞ
何って処刑だよ
やめろ先生逃げるんだこいつに仲間殺されたんだまさか4組の中年夫婦殺しの依頼人は君なのか
Whoa.
フレッツが死ぬ間際に言ってたんだ俺たちはモンスターに雇われたってこいつは人を殺すことなんて何とも思っちゃいないんだ君はヨハン・リーベルと双子の
Johan
兄弟の兄だ
Liebert. Look at this.
1986年これだけの素性が分かっていたら逃げ延びることは不可能だぞこれ以上罪を重ねるなヨハン
ヨハンかそういう名前の時もあったっけでもそれは僕の本当の名前じゃない僕の過去を知っちゃいけないんだあの4組の夫婦もリーベルト夫妻もでも先生は別だよ先生は僕を
He's like a
助けてくれた
A
先
guiding.
生は僕の親みたいなものだものだって先生がいなければ僕はここにいないんだ
God damn, the monster you created.
やめろ人を殺しちゃいけない
なぜ
Uh-huh.
なぜ
Uh.
だと人の命を何だと思っているんだ君を助けることで人の命の重さは全て平等だって気づいたんだぞ誰も人の命を奪う資格なんかない私は何年間もそれを心に刻んで医者として生きてきたんだ
This is episode 4.
何がおかしい
He's built different. Oh, the lightning strike's gonna show me his face, isn't it?
あの事件の後すぐに外科部長になったんだって
Yeah, everything played out quite nicely, right?
本当に良かった先生が外科部長に昇進して院長や外科部長やチーフが死んだから今の先生があるんだろう本当に良かった
It was Johan.
まさか
But how did he manage that?
だって先生が言ったんじゃない先生が望んだんじゃない
Hey,
僕の意識が戻った時先生は言ってた
you're
じゃない
better off dead. God damn, that dolly shot. He latched on
間違ってなん
something.
かいないあんなやつあんなやつ死んだ方がマシ
Holy
だ
shit, imagine the thoughts in his mind right now. The things he believes he might have set into motion.
先生の望み通りにしてあげたんだよ
That sensei is... Yeah. Everything he believed just got flipped on its head. Saving his life that day has a totally different meaning now.
僕はあの時死んでいたはずだったんだ
But look at me
先生
now
が
because
僕
of you.
を生き返らせてくれたんだ
He's a handsome lad. That's the face of the monster, eh?
双子の兄は頭部に重傷を負った。あなたはその少年のオペを執刀し、彼の
His sister might have
悲
shot
鳴を
him.
取り留めた。しかし、その少年は驚いたことに、病院の院長、外科部長、
So he did pull it off somehow.
毒入りのキャンディー
The bag
で
of
殺害
candy.
し逃亡。そして昨夜、彼はなんと9年ぶりに姿を現し、州警察の警官をまたもや
Yeah.
毒入りのキャンディーで殺害し、
Yeah, it does
そしてあ
sound.
なたの目前でアドルフ・ユンケルスを射殺した。彼の名はヨハン・リーベルト。とまあこういうわけですな。
That was quite comprehensive. Though he does have a knack for remembering details. Wow.
ま
Yes.
さかドクター・テンマほどの地位のある医者があんな犯行を犯すとは思いませんものね。とりあえずヨハン・リーベルトというやつを当たってみますか、ルンゲ警部。
Lung. Wow. Yes. Ah, okay. My goodness. Whew. All right, folks. Episode 4. How about that? That's a phenomenal episode. Of course, lots to get to, but let's kind of focus on the ending there. Dr. Tenma, on his knees in the rain. It rains and it pours. This man cannot catch a break. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. Yeah, this is it. This is a massive turning point. This is a pivot. And I think here, by the end of episode 4, I have a strong grasp on the direction of this story, perhaps, because in the first few episodes, there wasn't really a clear indication of the type of story this is going to be. There's a lot of elements of a lot of different types of stories it could be, but now it kind of really locks it in almost, doesn't it? Right? And yeah, you see that just as Dr. Tenma is content, right, at peace with his older self, past self, right, and he's kind of living this life now, it all came crumbling down once again. So here in episode 4, it made it quite clear that it's not going to be about discovering the identity of this elusive figure, this monster, as Junker keeps calling him, right? It's crazy just how terrified Junker is of this man, of this young adult, of this young man, Johann, right? Not his real name, but I suppose that's the name the story is going to utilize. And Dr. Tenma as well, because as of this point, that's the only name he has for him. Yeah. So it's out there, right? That aspect of it is not something that's going to remain a mystery. This is him. Johann is this killer, right? Now it appears that it's actually setting up more of one of those, infamous cat and mouse chases, but a really unique one at that, right? Because, yes, Lung or Lungi, I think the guy actually, this time, I heard him kind of say it a bit different. Or maybe I just heard it differently in the first time I saw him. He said Longi or Longi, right? So yeah, I'll have to kind of hear that a few more times to really lock it in. But yeah, he's the cop. He's the official side of the law in all of this. But the cat and mouse chase, that's really clear in this episode, or clearly set up in this episode, is one of Johann and Dr. Tenma. That's the really unique aspect of this, I think. A battle of ideologies. And perhaps this is how a lot of that character focus comes into play. A deep dive into the psyche of these characters, be it Johann, be it Dr. Tenma, the really idealistic, pure, ethical Dr. Tenma. And, that in itself, yeah, it has its flaws. That line of thinking also has its own flaws. And of course, I'm excited about a look into all of that and, give him my take on all of that. But, what makes people do the things that they do? That's a feeling I'm getting out of this episode specifically as well. Honestly, I'm really quite excited about the prospect of taking a deep dive into the mind of Johann Liebert, right? How he perceives life and the things it has to offer, and how he functions. But yeah, the monster himself, this handsome devil, right? I loved how they pull that off there. You could see even in the silhouette, and of course, I love the presentation of that. You could just kind of tell he's really quite put together even before I actually see him, right? Step into the light, and as Dr. Tenma sees him, us the audience sees him as well. Of course, leading up to that, it's being set up in a manner that, you must not look at him. You must not look at him. Junker is actually really quite protective of Dr. Tenma Sensei, someone he actually considers a parent, right? Because he is someone that kind of nurtured him back to health, is able to give guidance at this moment of need, is able to kind of give him his next steps. And you see that in that span of time, he's come to really appreciate Dr. Tenma, right? That's just the type of person he is. Dr. Tenma, that is. He's able to have that type of impact on people's lives. But on the flip side, you have another person calling him a parent, right? My God. It's a totally different connotation this time, right? I'm speaking of Johann, letting him know that you're different. You're different. These others, they must not know about my past, but you are different, right? You gave me a second chance at life. A lot of my talking points from episode 2's discussion, yeah, they ended up being really quite spot on, I think, right? That aspect of, okay, he feels like he has to thank him, right, for giving him the second chance. He feels that he owes him, that he owes this parent figure, this father figure, right? He doesn't want to see him in this state. He wants to make things better for him, and he did all of that. Of course, to Dr. Tenma's shock and horror. And in terms of Junker, this limited appearance character, I think there's enough characterization there that you actually do kind of feel sad for him. I did feel sad for him, right? On a few different occasions, of course. First time it was after he tells Dr. Tenma his story, right? And that in itself could, I'm sure that is going to play a part in the rest of the story as well, for some of these other characters as well. Just one move, that one misstep perhaps, and that just shaped the rest of his life. It put him on a totally different trajectory. And you see that he has regrets, a lot of them, because of that reason. You see that this is something he's always really kind of wanted to talk about, at least. But the types of people he's around, this is not something he can really bring up. But here, Dr. Tenma, right? Again, that parent figure aspect of this comes into play again. He felt that he can open up. He can finally let that out in his presence, because Dr. Tenma just exudes that safe space, doesn't he? The notion of a safe space. And, for that reason, again, yeah, he feels that he is this guardian figure for him, right? He does provide some clarity and gives him, his next steps. Like I said earlier, he tells him to come clean. It's not too late. You can change things. And, the thing is, earlier, to me, it actually even felt like he believes he's a goner. And this is around the time Lungi is asking him a few questions. There it kind of felt like he knows that he's on limited time at this point, that sooner or later the monster is going to get him as well. But then after, that conversation he had, and later on, he's in his bed by himself, kind of rethinking it. He's like, hold on, maybe there is a chance for me. Maybe there is a chance for someone like me, right? And then he just wants to make sure, okay, maybe I'll do this. And he does. He's hoping to do it. And he's hoping that guard is out there. But no, Johann took care of it. But that in itself is really quite interesting as well. Did Johann just actually show up there in person and just kind of offered him the candy right? Just in passing, right? Because that's one of the things about Johan. He looks like a normal person. Hell, he's actually the most attractive in the sense that the way he's drawn is the prettiest even, right? The most easy on the eyes in comparison to the really striking and sometimes ugly features I've seen in the first few episodes, be it the director, be it Ava in her demonic look almost. And, you know, before anyone overthinks it, yeah, I don't mean demonic in the actual supernatural sense, just her features, you know? But then, of course, later, she has a softer look as well. But, you know, Johan, like I said earlier, handsome devil. And then, of course, that plays into the whole idea of anyone could be a monster. Anyone could be capable of doing this, right? You cannot just base it off of looks, right? You cannot just see evil. But yeah, going back to the candy itself, you know, that's quite the calling card at this point. And indeed, he did pull it off. He was the one who poisoned those 3 adults. Listen, I'll be honest, that one still feels a little bit far-fetched to me. I've just thought about it, and, you know, I've discussed it throughout these first few episodes. I'm just not seeing how he pulled it off. Unless, of course, it was a normal thing that he is out and about now. He is walking around. Then I can see it. Maybe then I can see it. So actually, I do kind of have to take it back a bit. It's not really that far-fetched that he somehow pulled this off. There's still a few speed bumps, you know. It was a sealed package. And how do you make sure that they only go for that bag specifically, right? Unless he made sure to poison every other bag as well. But then, like I mentioned, Lungi or Lung would have known, right? They would have tested all of it. They would have collected all of that from the room. So sure, maybe there is a bit of plot convenience there. But yeah, let's see if it actually goes into it again down the line. I don't know. Listen, you know, it's not something that needs further focus, I suppose. You know, it's not going to be something I'll call a plot hole if it doesn't come back to it. But, you know, yeah, there's a few speed bumps. But like I said, it's clear now that this even at that age, he was not just a normal kid, right? You know, I keep saying, oh, the monster you created and that aspect of this. And, you know, that's being a little bit harsh on Dr. Tenma because, listen, yeah, he must be thinking all of these things from his perspective. But he doesn't have all the information, much like how us, the audience, doesn't have all the background information on these children and, you know, Johan specifically. And that surgery itself, you know, Dr. Tenma, he really, you know, he really looks back at it as the turning point in his life, right? He gives Johan a lot of credit up until this point, of course. Now, you know, it's shattered everything that's been built up. It came just crashing down, sorry. But yeah, up until the revelation that it is Johan, yeah, you know, that was a big moment for his life and how he is as a person at this point in life as well. How he was really able to find himself once again and kind of refocus into the type of doctor he wants to be and he believes he should be. And you know, that point about him already being like that, I say that because, you know, he's speaking of the Lieberts and he's speaking of these other families, these families who did not have kids. And, you know, because of that, I think there is a case to be made here that, yeah, you know, these might have been foster parents, right? Because he also goes on to say they must not know my past. No one should know my past, right? Or you must not know my past, or my past must not be known. I just kind of covered all the bases there. So it's almost as if he was taking care of the loose ends. There's just one left. And this one he's leaving alive by choice because this is someone really quite special to him. Dr. Tenma. Could I see Johan ever killing Dr. Tenma? I don't know. Honestly, as of this point, or in that scene, at no point did I think that Dr. Tenma is in danger. I just didn't think he wants to hurt him. There's also that mystery of the window that was broken, right? I mean, they basically said that, yeah, someone did break into their house. Someone did get in there, right? So there's a few different things going on there. So it's crazy that even at that age, in his bed, as Dr. Tenma is having this moment, right? He's letting loose under a moment of immense stress. He just lets it all out there, and he picked up on that. The kid picked up on all of it, right? And you see that even at that age, killing is not something that he thinks is wrong. But of course, Dr. Tenma at this point in time must be thinking, I've created a monster, right? He must think that everything he said at that moment must have shaped this child's mind, must have corrupted this child. At this moment in time, he legitimately believes he created this individual. He guided him. So that possibility of him imprinting on him, he actually believes it, I think. He himself actually believes he must have shaped it, right? Shaped this trajectory, and everything that's happened since falls on him. Again, this is how Dr. Tenma must be thinking and feeling at the moment. So, this potential cat and mouse chase, I called it a unique one because I don't think Dr. Tenma is going to go after him to kill him, right? Maybe, perhaps not at first. I think his actual goal here might be to see if he can fix him, if he can kind of guide him towards the light. And then, of course, there's that notion of Dr. Tenma potentially having to clear his name because you've got Lung or Lungi on his back. Interesting reaction on his face. First time I've seen him kind of have that type of reaction, right? And this is as he's looking down at him from the top of the building. Listen, this is meant to be someone that's really quite impressive. So surely at this point, he must be thinking, okay, there is maybe something interesting at play here, right? Maybe that's one of the reasons he's okay with, kind of letting Tenma out there. Surely he doesn't just think it's as simple as it being Dr. Tenma at this point, right? As the other guy mentions, right? They make sure to mention, he's got an alibi, things are not checking out. He just doesn't seem like the type of person who needs to be doing all of this. But then, of course, maybe Lung or Lungi must be thinking, yeah, maybe that is a reason he is able to do these things because no one's expecting him to do any of these things, right? So that cat and mouse chase is going to be really quite fascinating as well. Lungi and Tenma. But there's also that possibility that, because of Johan's actions and because of Johan's, candy wrapper calling card, perhaps. I'm not sure if that's a thing that is going to continue. But everything Johan might do from this point on might be attached to Dr. Tenma. And then, of course, him repeating that testimony out loud in that manner, it really kind of drives home that notion of it actually sounding a little bit crazy. Just a little bit fabricated, perhaps. And, I think he made his point. I think Tenma also recognizes, yeah, it does, I'm up against it. That story sounds kind of crazy and convenient as well. But going back to my point about Tenma feeling the need to right his wrong, again, from his perspective, it is beginning to also go into that idea of the responsibility of a doctor, perhaps, right? And that inherent respect that they are given the nature of their relationship with the people that they treat, right? He must be feeling all the responsibility at this moment in time. So I do feel like he's going to feel the need to right his wrongs, go out there, go after Johan. And then, of course, that aspect is going to be really quite engaging and exciting as well. Him actually trying to track him down, right? And then maybe, beyond Lung or Lungi as well, you have Dr. Tenma now in a position to change, right? He's going to have to change for sure if he's going to go after Johan, or he's going to find himself changing perhaps over the span of this cat and mouse chase, maybe, right? Remember that notion of to be the monster, to find the monster, or to defeat the monster, you must become like the monster. You must think like the monster, right? So that's another possibility here in terms of a potential metamorphosis for Dr. Tenma. And that notion of my past must not be known. That's another reason I believe, yeah, he must have been like that even as a child, right? And then then you begin to get into the whole idea or the possibility of a focus on the nature versus nurture aspect of it, right? How exactly did he become the person that he is? Was he born like this, or was he shaped into this individual, into this person? But then, of course, the exciting aspect of this is also the fact that there is a sibling, Anna or Anna, who's out there. Hopefully I'll get to see her soon as well, right? Now that they've shown us Johan, catch up to see how he's been all these years. And yeah, it'll be really cool to see Anna or Anna as well. And how all of that has affected her. And of course, Johan said that's not his real name. It's possible that Anna or Anna isn't her real name either, right? So yeah, the notion of a new life after they got out of there, yeah, it's on display. You see, Johan is certainly living a life, and he seems to be doing all right for himself, right? He's really quite put together, isn't he? And Junker even mentioned that their reward was really quite handsomely paid. So yeah, he's doing all right for himself now, or he has the backing of someone or a bunch of people, perhaps. I don't know. That seems a little bit unlikely, because to me he does feel like a maverick, a lone wolf, a ghost actually, right? You must not know my past, yet there is one person, Dr. Tenma, who he leaves alive. You're like a parent to me. You gave me a second chance at life. He didn't say all of these things, but these are the things that are going through my mind, right? I'm trying to think like he must be thinking at that moment. He did latch on. And also, let's kind of get into Johan as a character and the image that he presents. This is a supremely confident individual, young man, right? Calm, composed, cold. He really has quite the presence. That's another thing I kind of really felt in this episode, through Junker even, and how he describes this monster figure, right? And describes how his partners or his associates are just kind of butchered by this monster, taken out by this monster. One of them was called something Slasher, so I'm guessing that's the one who did the slashing, right? And Lung is actually, or he was really quite spot on in terms of, how many people it might have needed or required to pull these killings off, right? But yeah, supreme confidence in himself and the things he believes in, right? This is not a person that is unsure, right? Or confused. This felt like the final product. And that in itself is so jarring, but exciting as well at the same time, right? Of course, this type of character excites us, right? It makes you sit up. It makes you go, ooh, okay, of course, So, so any possible I can fix him element to this is going to be really quite difficult, I think. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, the way he's drawn is so attractive, right? His features. Again, like I said, perhaps the most beautifully drawn character so far. And again, that's by design as well, isn't it? Handsome devil, right? And of course, Dr. Tenma must be thinking the same thing. Oh wow, that is Johan, right? And these are the things he's capable of, right? Again, he must be thinking, I had a massive role to play in all of that, his trajectory. So you've got to feel for Dr. Tenma at this point, right? Sure, perhaps over the span of the series, he might come to understand alongside us, the audience, because he is essentially quite the fantastic proxy or character surrogate, or audience surrogate. And I've got to say, the voice acting, yes, it fits. It just fits the bill. It really does. Even though he is this monster, there is this gentle disposition. And even that in itself, of course, is a little bit jarring, right? But it makes sense. Even the voice itself, even though there is, in the back of your mind, there is this little creepy element to it. There is something soothing about the way he speaks, right? That's how I felt, at least. And then also there's this really fantastic shot. I mean, there's a lot of really great shots in this one. You know, the staging of that run-in, that, you know, faithful reunion, even up top in the building. Yeah, the mood, the atmosphere it's able to create is just gripping, right? The score itself is just fantastic in many of these moments. Again, fits the bill nicely. And then, of course, you know, the silhouette shots, and then the big reveal itself, the rain. Oh, I love that. I just love the tone of this. It's not for everyone. It's, you know, that type of dreary, moody, depressed tone is not for everyone, but it is for me. You know, I really, really do enjoy it. There's that one really great shot of Junker in the middle, Tenma on the right in the darkness, right? And then you've got Johan to the left, lit up by the moonlight or the light from the lampposts outside, right? Really quite indicative of their personalities, or at least their mindset at that moment. Like I mentioned earlier, supremely confident in himself, right? But then Tenma on the other end is just hidden in the darkness. He is just so lost at the moment. So again, you know, the visual storytelling is certainly on par as well so far, I've got to say. But I know my thumbnail. It's got to be that silhouette shot of Johan. And you know, the thing is, the moment they show him the first time, you just know. I knew, you know, the slender figure. You could just tell, you know, in your mind, you start doing like the aging process. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is how he should look really after a 9-year time skip. So just the figure itself almost immediately tells you, even before you get to hear him speak. But the moment he speaks, then you know. Then you just know. And then he confirms it himself shortly after that as well. But another thing I'm really quite excited about is him living his life. Maybe they are going to show me Johan living his life, his double life, I suppose, being a member of society, right? Just blending in. And, you know, like I mentioned earlier, he does have that presence, doesn't he? It's almost as if he attracts people. He's able to almost have a hold on these people. There's a really unique or interesting question that can be asked. And it does kind of go back to that whole idea of, could you kill baby Hitler, right? Now that Dr. Tenma knows that he goes on to become this person, a person who is capable of some really dark things, inhuman things, could he then, you know, having that foreknowledge, could he actually go on to save his life? Could he perform that surgery once again, if, again, he had that foreknowledge? Could that foreknowledge test his ethics, his idealism, right? His code as a doctor. A doctor is meant to save lives equally, right? Could all of that trump having that foreknowledge, right? I think that's a really interesting question that this anime could ask. But yeah, on one end, you've got someone who doesn't think anything of killing, right? As Junker stated. And on the other end, on the opposite side, you've got someone who believes that no one should take anyone's life or should be taking anyone's life. All life is equal, right? So yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting, this clash, for sure. I mean, you know, there's this really jarring moment, you know, haunting moment even. You mustn't kill people. I believe that's a line of dialogue. And then immediately, Johan replies, why not? Oh, whew. And, you know, to finish it off, I kind of want to go back to that point about the crime story, the potential of a crime story. And that's usually about people who break the law and then the people who catch them, right? And that's usually essentially based on the starting principle, everyone in society has equal rights as human beings, right? But here, our Johan Liebert, I don't know if he agrees, right? And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited to take a deep dive into the mind of the monster. Oh man, yeah, it's good stuff, man. Damn good stuff. As you could tell, I'm really quite dialed in. I'm really quite excited about this. Yeah, just exciting times on the channel, really. But yeah, if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in full length, timer-based full length, of course, it's really quite easy. Or perhaps even early access to the next few episodes right now, consider checking out the Patreon page and supporting the channel. Links are in the description and the pinned comment, also links to social media. Check those out as well. You can support the channel just by dropping a follow on Twitter. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, folks. And thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.